What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports back again with another one. Lightweight champion and social media superstar Ryan Garcia, aka King Ryan, announced in a short video on social media that he's back. His return to the square circles is imminent. He says for all the people that supported him through these trying times, going through his trials and tribulations, that he's coming back with a vengeance. And for all the people that left him out in the cold, turned their back on him, he basically told them to stay gone. Don't jump back on the bandwagon. Basically, you revealed your true colors, and he got no use for you right now. That's basically what Ryan said, man. Ryan, he sounded kind of angry, kind of butthurt about those people that kind of turned their back on him through these trying times that he was going through. But he said he's ready to get back in the square circle. So we will see what happens, and we will damn sure see what transpires. But oh God, Ryan, man. All right, I'm glad to see him back, man. I'm glad to see him back. I'm glad to see him back. Now, he's going to have to get in there with a real true test in this next fight. No doubt about it. He can't get in there with no name person that you like. Who is that? I don't know who that is. Never heard of him. He's got to get in there with a name in this next fight. Especially when a lot of people think he ducked out on the fight with Javier Fortuna, who's ranked number 3 in the WBC. Now, as we know, the franchise champion in the WBC is Teofimo Lopez, a.k.a. Mr. Takeover. He's got a fight coming up with George Kambosos, August the 14th. Was moved from June the 19th, which that day was moved from June the 5th. So this is the second time that fight has been moved. First of all, Floyd Mayweather Jr. made them move the first time because he had a fight lined up with Logan Paul. That fight took place June the 6th. So Lopez Kambosos had to move out that June 5th date because they knew they were going to lose a lot of revenue competing with Floyd Mayweather Jr., who still right now is one of the biggest names in boxing, one of the biggest money makers in boxing. So they had to move out that date. They moved to June 19th, which made no sense because you had like 5,000 fights on June 19th, which makes no sense, man. You got Charlo fighting, you got Enu fighting. You got some big names fighting, no doubt. You got the Chavez family reunion going down on that date. You got Jaime McGill fighting against Selecki. No, not Selecki. He fighting Smirtova, a guy that fought Triple G in his last fight. So you had a lot of competition on that fight. So with that and Teofimo Lopez testing positive for COVID-19, they had to reschedule it for August the 14th. So with that being said, he's not available either. So you got the WBC lightweight champion, Devin the Dream Haney. Now that's the fight to make, but I don't have no faith in that fight actually happening next. Ryan Garcia has shown in the past that he has no, he don't want to fight Devin Haney. I don't want to say ducking the guy. He basically saying Devin Haney ain't got no name. And when he asked the crowd after the Luke Campbell fight who they wanted to see him fight next, everybody chanted out Gervonta Tank Davis. But the problem with that is, Ryan, you didn't fight Gervonta Tank Davis next. You tried to throw a curveball to everybody and tried to run out there and chase a pipe dream fight with Manny Pacquiao. I heard that fight was going to be at a mansion, somebody's backyard. You know what I'm saying? I heard all kind of crazy rumors about that fight. It wasn't going to be a real fight. It was going to be an exhibition fight, but then it was going to be a real fight. But the problem was Ryan Garcia was running off his mouth to the media too much. I think Manny Pacquiao and his team probably told him to shut up, man. You the Eddie Hearn of boxing, of fighters. You want to run out there at the mouth and get on all these different YouTube channels and, and talk about the fight and, just playing games. Guess who I'm fighting next. It's a big name. I wouldn't be turning down this fight with Gervonta Tank Davis who went for a big opportunity. It rhymes with Tanny Pacquiao. You know what I'm saying? Playing games, stuff like that, man. Come on, man. I bet you Manny Pacquiao was like, man, be quiet, man. We handle our business behind closed doors, man. We don't do all that talking, man, about fights. If it don't get made, people gonna be mad at you. People gonna be saying you ducking. So it serves no purpose for you to be announcing these fights before they're actually signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours. Don't do it. Wait until it's official. And when it is official, Manny Pacquiao is the A-side. He's going to announce it just like he announced the Errol Spence fight. Errol Spence Jr. didn't get on the media talking about, man, I'm looking at a bigger fight, man. I told Udonis Ugas to, sit on the sideline, man, stand by. And I'm working on a big fight with, I'm working on a big fight with Manny Pacquiao. You know what I'm saying? He didn't do that. He handled his business behind closed doors. It was like, Pacquiao and Terence Crawford negotiations fell apart, and then like a week later, boom, you got Pacquiao, Errol Spence Jr. signed. You know what I'm saying? That's how you handle your business. And Terence Bud Crawford did the same thing. He telling Sean Showtime Porter, nah. Licking his tongue out at Sean Showtime Porter saying, look, man, I got a fight coming up with Manny Pacquiao. I ain't trying to worry about you, man. You ain't on Manny Pacquiao level. You don't have a belt. When you did have a belt, you wasn't trying to fight me, and then he ain't get to fight. You know what I'm saying? Then he ain't get to fight. You know what I'm saying? Handle your business behind closed doors. That need to be the lesson of 2021. Handle your business behind closed doors. And when the fight is done, then announce it. Don't announce it before it's actually done. That goes for Ryan Garcia. That goes for Terence Bud Crawford. And that goes for Eddie Hearn, a.k.a. Eddie the Con Artist. I was going to find a way to put him in this video because he out here doing the things that he always do. Eddie Hearn type of things. But with that being said, Ryan Garcia needs to get in there with a credible opponent next. Now, let's look at the rankings. You got Vasily Lomachenko ranked number 1. He has a fight lined up with Nakatani, one of my favorite fighters to watch in boxing. Oh, Nakatani! That boy is a one-handed fighter, man. He gonna throw that right hand. It's coming. He gonna throw that right hand, man. The whole fight, he throwing that right hand. He throwing that right hand, man. But he's going against Vasily Lomachenko, man. That's gonna be a very interesting matchup due to his size and height advantage. He's got to be almost 6 feet, and Vasily Lomachenko is probably around 5'5", somewhere in there, 5'6" tops. That's gonna be a very interesting matchup due to the height difference. Skill-wise, Vasily Lomachenko has a huge gap, a huge advantage in skill level, but Nakatani's got a lot of heart, man. He's going to throw that right hand, and if Vasily Lomachenko is not the Vasily Lomachenko that we know and love, it could be a very interesting fight, man. He could have some trouble in that fight. So, anyway, that fight is already lined up, so that fight is out the window as far as a matchup with Ryan Garcia. Number 2 is Ryan Garcia. He ranked number 2. Now, you got number 3, you got Javier Fortuna. Everybody say he ducked. A lot of people say he ducked out of that fight. But anyway, Fortuna got some fight set up with the number 4 ranked guy, Jojo Diaz. Oh, Jojo. Oh, yeah. They got a fight set up to take place this summer. And that's going to be for the vacant WBC interim lightweight title. So those two guys already got fights with each other, so that fight can't. Either one of those fights cannot happen for Ryan Garcia. Then you got Jorge Linares. He just got through fighting Devin the Dream Haney, so I don't see him fighting until the latter part of 2021. So he won't be available. Then you got Richard Comey. Now that's the fight outside of the Devin Haney. If I had to rank the fights I want to see Ryan Garcia fight next, obviously Devin Haney is number 1, but number 2 would be Richard Comey. Because I think that'll be a good matchup. If I'm Oscar De La Hoya, I try to make that fight because he got a name. But he's just vulnerable enough. If Ryan Garcia is on top of his game, he can possibly knock out and stop Richard Comey. Because Richard Comey was knocked out by Teofimo Lopez in the 2nd round. So, but his other 2 losses were split decision losses to Robert Easter Jr. And he lost to Denis Shakalov. Back-to-back split decision losses. Outside of those 2 fights, his only fight that he really got, and a lot of people thought he won the Robert Easter Jr. fight. A lot of people thought he won the Denis Shakalov fight. I think he fought Denis Shakalov over there in Russia. So, they had that hometown cooking going on with Shakalov. So he knew what he was getting himself into going over there to fight him. He needed to get a knockout. So for him to get in there and fight a very close fight, he shouldn't really be complaining about that because he should have known. The fight going to the judge, and if it's a semi-competitive fight, you're not gonna get no decision over there. So he knew that going in. So he didn't do enough to to take the chances that he needed to take to try to stop Shakalov, and he ended up getting a split decision loss. Same thing with Robert Easter Jr. He fought Robert Easter Jr. in his hometown, I believe, of Toledo, Ohio. He fought him there, and big brother Adrian Broner was in attendance in the crowd. And stuff like that, he wasn't going to get no decision in that fight. That was a good fight, too, though. That was a very good matchup. That boy, Robert Easter Jr. caught him with a right hand. I don't know how Richard Comey didn't go down from that right hand. He buckled him, though, but he was able to not go down, and he was able to grab and hold on until he got his gatherings back, and he was able to come back pretty strong after that. It made it a very close fight. Lost a split decision to Robert Easter Jr. With that being said, that'd be a good matchup for Ryan Garcia. Yeah, that'd be a good matchup for Ryan Garcia. You know, he's just vulnerable enough where he's a very offensive-minded guy. He's got a good jab, and he's got a good right hand, but he's a very aggressive fighter. You know, he had a problem with Ray Beltran, and I'm talking about that was a faded, past his best days, Ray Beltran. He fought Richard Coleman. He rocked Richard Coleman multiple times in that fight. Richard Coleman was ultimately stopped Ray Beltran. He ultimately stopped him, but that was a very fan-friendly fight. That was a very back-and-forth fight. He dropped him a couple times. He ultimately stopped him. But I just let you know, man, he's vulnerable enough, and he's a guy that's going to be in a very entertaining fight. Most of all his fights are very entertaining, and he's a very fan-friendly fighter. So that would be a good matchup. And a guy that's just vulnerable enough, if Ryan Garcia, again, is on top of his game, he can beat. And he's got a real big name in the lightweight division. So that could be a matchup that they can make happen. I think Richard Coleman, he's fighting with Top Rank Boxing. He's fighting on ESPN. I don't know if he's still represented by Lou DiBella. I think so. But anyway, you know, he's been fighting on ESPN. He fought his last fight. He got a win against Marinez. That was his last fight. He looked pretty good, man, on that fight. He did what he had to do. He needed to get a win after that loss to Teofimo Lopez. So that could be a possibility. You know, as we know, Oscar De La Hoya and Bob Arum, they met a couple of months ago at Bob Arum's house. So they discussed several fights that they wanted to get together and match up with those two companies working together. So that could be a possible matchup. And actually, that's the number 2 fight I have on my list for Ryan Garcia besides the Devin Haney fight, which I think is a pipe dream at this point. I don't see that fight happening next. Now, outside of that, you got a couple other guys like Francisco Vargas. He actually fighting here in Houston this Saturday. He fighting on the undercard of Jamal Charlo versus Juan Macias Montiel. So he's unavailable. And then you got the guy, Akpadala. I think he's got a fight set up overseas somewhere. I don't think he's going to be available. He ain't got no name anyway. A lot of people going, that's what I was saying earlier. You don't want no opponent that people don't know nothing about, man. You want a name, especially after, you know, he called out Tank Davis, and then he tried to set up a fight with Manny Pacquiao, and both of those fights ended up falling by the wayside. He's got to get in there with a name opponent. He can't be fighting no guy nobody never heard of, in my opinion. So I think those are the 2 best names. But the name I think is going to end up being is the fight that they talked about before the Luke Campbell fight. If you remember, if you go back to when he was negotiating a fight between himself and Luke Campbell, that they were talking about before those negotiations, they were talking about Emanuel Tagoe from Ghana. You know, Ghana has represented a lot of top fighters in the past. You know, you got Ike Corte, he from Ghana. You got the Professor Azuma Nelson, he was from Ghana. He had a lot of great battles with James Jesse Lehi. They fought about 2 or 3 times, great fights. I remember the fight over there in San Antonio in the Alamo Dome. I think it was on the undercard of the Chavez Pernell Whitaker fight, if I'm not mistaken. That was a great fight between Azuma Nelson and James Jesse Lehi. He's a great champion, Hall of Fame fighter. Then you had Ike Corte. He had that memorable fight with Oscar De La Hoya, a.k.a. the Golden Boy. That fight was a great fight. I remember I went to a sports bar to watch that fight back in the day. Man, a lot of people at the little sports bar, right. And a lot of people thought Ike Corte won that fight. It was a good fight because Oscar De La Hoya, if it wasn't for those 2 knockdowns, he got a knockdown early in that fight, and then he got a knockdown in that 12th round. And that was able to give him the split decision win, if I'm not mistaken, over Ike Corte in a very quiet as kept, one of the best welterweight bouts of the past decade. That fight between Ike Corte and Oscar De La Hoya. You need to go back and watch that fight. That was a great matchup. But those are some of the great fighters that come out of Ghana. And Emanuel Tagoe is another Ghana fighter looking to make his name and stake his claim along those lines of those past greats. And that would be a good matchup between himself and Ryan Garcia. And that was a fight that they was talking about. You know, when he was talking about fighting either Emanuel Tagoe or Luke Campbell. And he ended up fighting the Luke Campbell fight. Emanuel Tagoe was the guy that they was also looking at. So I think that's going to probably be the fight they're going to make next. Again, like I said earlier in this video, he's going to be a guy that people are going to say, who is that? I don't know him, never heard of him. But he has a good record, man. Like I say, he come from Ghana, man, so he can fight. You know, they don't pull out no bad fighters out of that Ghana. Like I told you, look at the guys of the past. Who heard of Ike Corte? Now, people knew about Ike Corte for the Oscar De La Hoya fight because he had been in there with some big-time fighters in the welterweight division. So I ain't going to say that then. Obviously, people knew the professor of Zuma Nelson. But Emanuel Tagoe don't seem to have that pedigree or that name recognition if he was able to get the Ryan Garcia fight. But that's a fight that they could make, and Golden Boy could look at it that as being a similar fight to the fight that was set up between Oscar De La Hoya and Ike Corte. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But Ryan Garcia versus Emanuel Tagoe could be happening next and could be happening soon. Let me know your thoughts about that particular matchup, and let me know your thoughts about Ryan Garcia coming back. He's back to the sport of boxing. That's a good thing, no doubt about it. Let me know your thoughts and hit the like button if you like the content of this video, and subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. And I'll holler.